More than any other time in history, mankind faces a crossroads. Douglas and Gordon referred to Gleneagles and the Commission for Africa. The day afterwards, I was asked did I think it would be done that the G8, the politicians, never do anything. And I was said, well, we weren't going to let up on it. And here we are, 2010. We won't know exactly until next year, but so far, 60% of what they said they would do, they've done. Debt has been cancelled. We know what's occurred because of that, but more immediately, in Africa, where I was with Dominique Strauss-Kahn and Prime Minister Odinga and Prime Minister Meles of Ethiopia at the weekend, it was pointed out by Strauss-Kahn that Africa has been able to weather part of the economic crisis through a fiscal stimulus, but paid for by themselves. The IMF were not called in, and that's largely as a result of the debt cancellation of 2005. This is phenomenal, and it goes to the modern world, not the world that the BBC and the others tried to drag us back to of 25 years ago. The horror, the terrors, the wars, the brutality and the indifference. No, not that world. This is the world of the 21st century, where we must replace that past world with a different idea, and that idea must be cooperation rather than competition. This must be the new political paradigm. There is no other option, and the G20 is the model for that. We are forced into this idea, and we need to expand that idea. And if we're going to go forward from the summit in September at the UN, where Obama promises to make a keynote speech on how to exactly deliver America's part of the bargain for the MDGs, and perhaps set new bars and new standards, we have to coordinate our efforts. Because again, bizarrely, so many different units are working towards the MDGs, the UN, the EU, many actors. When you make a promise as a leader, when you make a promise as a leader to the poor, when you make a promise as a leader to the poor and you sign your name on that agreement in Gleneagles, you turn a communique into a compact. And you don't sign the name Silvio Berlusconi or Jacques Chirac. You don't sign the position that you hold. What you are signing, to be clear, is the honour and the dignity of the country you have the privilege to represent, and when you break that promise, you break that honour. And without question, it is the most sacred promise a leader can make, because it is the promise of the poor to the rich, the strong to the weak. Lives bettered, countries sucked into the productivity of the planet, human beings turned on, brains made alive, electrified with their own creativity, intellectualism, dynamism, productivity, creativity, and plugged into the rest of us. That's to our advantage. We do this out of self-interest too. It is not enough just to have the moral component, which is why the business part of this is so critical. The Chinese have shown us it is true trade. Doha must be completed, and it must be completed for those in whose name it was called, the poor. And it can be done. Me and my gang will be at the G8, we'll be at the G20, trying to get them to do what you say should be done. And that headwind that's coming against us, internally, politically, and externally, is not a mistake. It is coordinated. It is thought through. We do have to respond to those books that are, in effect, economically nonsensical, but they make great headway. We do have to respond to the Goldman Sachs analysts when they're not destroying Greece, trying to destroy Africa with their nonsensical ideas. We do have to do that, and still find the words to talk of this elegant gift we gave ourselves. Not millennium domes or bridges or whatever, but millennium people who are allowed to live, who are allowed to exercise the right to live a life and the potential of that life and to pass it on. Africa's doing fine, can do better. We know all the actors and the ones who don't deserve to be in government but are. But as the economy grows, then civil society will make its own choices. But what you decide at this conference is critical. And what me and my friends will do is we'll take it out there and argue for it. When we disagree as friends. But the aim is the same. It isn't fair, it isn't right, and it need not be that people are ill, hurt, put upon, beaten up by circumstance. That is a preposterous notion by which we live our life. I don't accept it. You don't accept it. This conference is the route out of that acceptance to 2015. And if we don't make 2015, we'll make 2016. And if 2016 doesn't work, there'll be 2017. But get there we will. Get there we will. Because if we don't, then none of this is worth living. Thank you very much.